Welcome back to my channel Celebuzz. Please share and subscribe and press the bell icon for new updates. I am nearly at a loss for words. The election of my brother as Pope is just astounding. A startling present from Pope Leo XIV, Cardinal Tagle. Now we may jump to the meat of the argument. Rumors began circulating on social media and in lesser-known media sites suggesting that Cardinal Tagle made a politically charged or subtly critical gesture by giving Pope Leo XIV a controversial or dramatic gift soon after his election. Respected New York Times reporting, however, revealed a far more intimate and funny reality. During the conclave, Tagle joked that he offered Papacy a piece of candy as a first act of charity because he was going to be the Pope. The purpose of sharing the humorous story was to emphasize the friendly and inclusive atmosphere of the meeting, not to cause a commotion or generate excessive media coverage. Post himself smiled as he described the time he gave me chocolates, explaining that it was an act of charity, and we both laughed. That was Tagle, always human, lighthearted. Even while it's not unexpected, this seemingly little action says a lot about the relationship between the two pastors. Respect for one another, modesty, and a commitment to leading with grace and humor instead of drama are all essential. Heartfelt, affection and camaraderie, not physical force. This interaction provided a warm contrast to the typically icy or aggressive conclave atmosphere. The camaraderie that developed among a few cardinals was unlike the numerous outsiders who were forming alliances and placing bets on the results. In subsequent writings, Tagle portrayed Pope Leo XIV as deeply human, modest, and astute. Just that one sentence strikes a chord with the faithful who had grown to respect Pope Francis's modesty and who had hoped for a successor, who could gracefully continue his work. With Tagle's candor and Pope Leo's openness, a new picture emerged of the transition, one in which connections were more important than rivalry, rather than political posturing or grandstanding. The broader view. Tagle's role in the conclave. Cardinal Tagle's significant participation in the 2025 conclave should not be overshadowed by the delightful, sweet narrative. Among the most esteemed cardinals, he played a pivotal role in the preparations for the conclave, making him an indispensable figure in that specific congregation. Many were impressed by him, especially Catholics in Asia and those who shared Pope Francis's vision, and he was frequently mentioned in top short lists. I need your assistance. First, though, before we do that, your subscription would be very appreciated, as I am aiming to attain 30,000 subscribers by year's end. Despite not being chosen Pope, Tagle's presence influenced the conclave's mood and goals, highlighting the importance of mercy, discussion, and intercultural understanding, with the Vatican Hall serving as a holding pattern. So far, Cardinal Tagle has not been officially promoted or reassigned by Pope Leo XIV. Regarding potential appointments, the Vatican has been mum, and Tagle has confirmed that his job is still the same. According to what Tagle informed reporters, Pope Leo XIV Pope needs some time to think about the discernment process. Patience and maybe a hint of mild expectation permeate the phrase. Such hiccups are commonplace in the intricate machinery of the Vatican. It is common practice for newly installed popes to get to know the institution, its people, and their priorities before implementing radical changes. As things are, nothing has changed. After serving as Vatican Evangelization Coordinator under Pope Francis, Tagle is still an ideal candidate for the role. However, remaining silent is not an indication of insignificance. Holding out isn't the same as giving up, being in the thick of things and having your expectations cast a long shadow. Being left in uncertainty is a major issue for a man who was once considered a frontrunner for the Pope. Envision yourself as someone who devotes decades to service, being known for their theological insight, humility, and inclusiveness, just to see the throne of Peter go to another. That instant hurts, even for the most spiritually developed people. However, Tagle has responded in an absolutely magnificent manner. Absence of resentment, passivity, or withdrawal. In its place, he restated his trust in the Church's procedures, his willingness to serve, and his allegiance to the newly elected Pope. Such perseverance creates legacies rather than headlines. An ancient and modern story of two cardinals who meet in quiet contemplation. Conflict between the Pope and the Papa Bill who wasn't is easy to fathom. However, the plot is different in this case. More than just the red robes and the walls of the Vatican, Pope Leo XIV, Cardinal Robert Post, and Cardinal Tagle have a lot in common. Their personal warmth and professional rapport have been developed during many years of working together. They were both high-ranking dicasteries under Pope Francis. They were complementary in their outreach efforts and shared a concern for the reality of the global south as voices of pastoral sensitivity. Although Pope Leo XIV has taken the hat of white, Tagle, who has served and is still serving, has taken the hat of red, a prophecy made by a neighbor. He will make history by becoming the first American pope. Foreshadowing is a gift from life, but it often makes sense when we look back. I need your assistance first, though, before we do that. Your subscription would be very appreciated, as I am aiming to attain 30,000 subscribers by year's end. The Prevost claimed that a neighbor told Robert's mother, "That boy is going to be the first American pope," when Robert was in first grade. Imagine that seemed like a delightful exaggeration when it was said. However, at this point it seems almost prescient. Not as part of a premeditated story, this tale has gone viral. No public relations departments were engaged. It was two brothers talking openly about the child they shared a childhood with. Whoever became a man of God also enjoyed reading and was a comedian. Perhaps additional secrets like that are required if that is indeed a secret. John and Louis went beyond simply discussing their brother's upbringing. They enlightened us about the man as a whole. According to Louis, who spoke with the New York Times, he is the mediator. He always manages to reach a compromise whenever there's a disagreement. That speaks a lot, particularly for a church that struggles to find its footing on the fence between conservatism and liberalism, or compassion and dogma. He never let his clerical titles get to him, and they said he was hilarious, grounded, listens before speaking, doesn't require praise, and still picks up the phone when relatives call. That is to say, she is an exemplar of honesty and not a scandal figure. Ancestry, Creole ethnicity, and American nationality. The media did cover one thing, the Pope's family tree, but it was for the correct reasons. Their maternal line has Black and Creole ancestry, which may be traced back to the free people of color community in 19th century New Orleans, according to John Post. We all know this. That's the legacy. Rather than sparking debate, it is being hailed as a representation of the Church's increasing inclusivity. This ancestral link has been openly discussed by genealogists and prominent leaders, including members of Congress. It exemplifies the role of Pope Leo XIV as a link connecting people, places, and things across time and space, as well as between different cultures. Being the first American pope isn't all he does. He may be the most emblematic of those who are fighting against distrust of leadership. Keep an eye on how this narrative music develops. During an era when many people have lost faith in government, businesses, and even religion itself. The voyage of Pope Leo XIV is profoundly comforting. Vatican insiders didn't concoct him. He refrained from running for office. Neither did he stand. The truth is that he served silently and faithfully for decades, as his brothers have revealed. Ranging from parochial work to global responsibility, I have worked from Peru to Rome. True leadership, he demonstrated, does not seek praise but rather gains followers' confidence. If you've been having trouble believing that there is still leadership that is honest, this story can give you hope again. The testimony of a sibling cannot be falsified. Brothers know your true character, unlike friends and co-workers who may only paint a flattering picture. And although Louis Poe claims he was never one for the limelight, it's because he loved people unconditionally. Its impact is greater than that of 100 editorials. They weren't making their remarks from a raised platform. Reminiscences of birthday celebrations, long walks, and Christmas meals informed their conversation, and they made their point quite plain. Exactly who he claims to be, Pope Leo XIV is. Authenticity like that is hard to come by these days, even for doubters. Please include the inauguration day and time. Whenever a new spiritual leader was proclaimed, the entire globe seemed to freeze in place. That time is going to come around, again. In a solemn and historic service held in St. Peter's Square on Sunday, May 18, 2025, at exactly 10 a.m. Rome time, Pope Leo XIV will properly begin his papacy. This is more than a formality. The hope, unity, and tradition that have resonated across all continents for generations have finally come to a head in this. Witness a moment that redefines the course of the worldwide church as faithful Catholics, world leaders, and onlookers from every walk of life meet. How the symbolic ceremony of the inauguration unfolds. There is a lot more going on during the papal inauguration, Mass, than just the liturgy. The Catholic Church is entering a new era, both figuratively and literally, with this event. Not a coronation, but a celebration of service, humility, and devotion to unity will mark Pope Leo XIV, formerly Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost's public assumption of the throne of St. Peter. St. Peter's Square hosted the inaugural outdoor Mass. At this service, the new pope will deliver his homily, a speech that will shape his pontificate, along with readings, prayers, and hymns. Gift of the pallium and the fisherman's ring offered. Both of these holy objects have deep significance that were given upon them during the service. The Pope's position as shepherd of the Church is symbolized by the pallium, a woolen band placed across his shoulders. Representing the Pope's power and apostolic vocation is the fisherman's ring inscribed, with the image of St. Peter casting his net. The square will be filled with world leaders from all walks of life, including presidents, prime ministers, patriarchs, and archbishops. Members of the diplomatic community, cardinals, bishops, and regular Catholics will all stand together in prayer and respect. The liturgy recognized all around the world. The musical selections and liturgical texts will showcase the cultural and linguistic diversity of the worldwide Church. In homage to the multi-ethnic and missionary background of Pope Leo XIV, an emotional adventure for those who believe. More than just a papal transition will be happening for many of those who attend this ceremony. They will see a dream come true and a tradition carried on. Pope Francis has spent years stressing charity, outreach, and environmental stewardship. Now, the faithful will be hoping that Pope Leo XIII will bring both stability and musical progress. What follows are the rituals and events. There will be more than just the inauguration Mass. There will be a carefully orchestrated chain reaction of events in the days and weeks that follow, each carrying heavy political and spiritual implications. As is customary, the newly elected Pope will visit each of Rome's 4 main basilicas to lay claim to them, thus renewing his spiritual bond with the Church's history and his vows as Bishop of Rome. Outside the walls, St. Paul, May 20th. Leo XIV's own experience in world evangelism is in harmony with the first stop that alludes to St. Paul's missionary fervor. St. John Lateran and St. Mary Major will be celebrated on May 25th. While St. Mary Major represents the Marian ideals of faith and hope, the Lateran serves as the official cathedral of the Pope in his role as Bishop of Rome. For the Moran-loving faithful, this is probably going to be a very moving moment. Tuesday, May 21st, First General Audience. St. Peter's Square, or the Vatican's Paul V Sixth Audience Hall, often known as Peter's Square, is where the Pope will continue a long-standing practice on this day. This weekly gathering is more than just a formality. Here, the Pope can start a conversation with the people on a more personal level. From a Pope renowned for his gentle wisdom, one may anticipate profoundly moving reactions, spontaneous greetings, and sincere blessings. Important gatherings and speeches. Meeting with the College of Cardinals on May 10th is also on the agenda. This will be a private discussion with the men who elected him, and the agenda is likely to center on future cooperation, appreciation, and direction. The Regina Caeli prayer, a Sunday devotion, will be offered at noon on May 11th from the papal window, beneath the Apostolic Palace, as the faithful gather. The worldwide media will be present on May 12th. In his first official meeting with journalists as Pope, he shared some of his hopes and dreams for the Church. June 16th, speech to the Diplomatic Center. This is the Pope's opportunity to address world leaders face-to-face, where he may emphasize his dedication to environmental solidarity, fairness, and peace. Meeting with the Roman Curé and staff of the Vatican on May 24th. A step forward in pastoral and administrative matters, as a sign of Leo XIV's dedication to reform within the Vatican's governing structures, collaboration, and continuity. This summit is taking place, keeping the government running. There is no void left by the papal succession, in contrast to secular transitions. Members of the Curia will remain in their positions until Leo XIV accouter them formally. They will be there temporarily. This way, the changeover will not leave any stone unturned in terms of church governance, from pastoral care to diplomacy. It embodies the systematic and pious style of leadership that Pope Leo XIV exhibited, kind, calm, and profoundly rural. In this stage, the Pope frequently takes his time listening and considering, reflecting his Augustinian heritage of contemplation and community building, rather than acting hastily. This papal inauguration provides a deep glimpse into faith and leadership at the highest level, and is therefore relevant for anybody seeking meaning in times of global transformation, whether they are believers, historians, or just ordinary citizens of the globe. No, this isn't merely the 14th Pope's moment. We also own it. An opportunity to consider the status of spiritual leadership in the modern era, the lasting impact of long-forgotten ceremonies, and how at times the most potent symbols are conveyed through acts of service, sacrament, and quiet reflection rather than public discourse. Everyone is now looking on. St. Peter's Cathedral is ready to ring its bells. A fresh chapter starts. The adventure has already started. Here is your chance to be a part of history as it unfolds.